So it's taken quite a while, but well, it's not as easy as I'm gonna say it, but polygamy is now legal in the state of Utah. So I'm surprised that it's taken this long. I'm surprised that it has been that it's just taken such a long time for this. This is from The Guardian, and the Utah Senate unanimously moved to decriminalize polygamy. The sponsor says the bill would help otherwise law-abiding polygamists gain access to critical services, but critics say polygamy is harmful. Now, first of all, if you don't know what polygamy is usually one man marrying multiple women. That's what that is. Okay. And polygamy is harmful, and I'll get into that a little bit later, but let me just get into this article, and I'll explain why it's harmful. The Utah State Senate voted unanimously on Tuesday to effectively decriminalize polygamy among consenting adults, reducing penalties for a practice with deep religious roots in the predominantly Mormon state. This is what I'm about to say is not in the article, but polygamy started in the 1830s. Let me say this. In America, it started in the 1830s. Okay? Polygamy goes way back. It goes way back. Okay? It's old. But in the United States, it started in the 1830s. Okay. So when I say it started in the 1830s, I'm talking about the United States. The bill, which would treat the offense of plural marriage as a simple infraction on par with a parking ticket, now moves to the Utah House of Representatives, where it is likely to face greater resistance. The bill swiftly cleared the Republican-controlled Senate on a vote of 29-0 with little discussion. Under current law, polygamy, typically involving a man who cohabits and purports to marry more than one wife, is classified as a third-degree felony, punishable by up to 5 years in prison. If the Senate becomes law, punishments for plural marriage would be limited to fines of up to $750 and community service. However, fraudulent bigamy, in which an individual obtains licenses to marry more than one spouse without their knowledge, or seeks to wed someone underage without her consent, remains a felony. The chief sponsor of the measure, the state senator Henderson, said the intent of the bill is not to legalize polygamy, but to lower the penalties so that those from polygamous communities who are victims of crimes can come forward without fear of being prosecuted themselves. Do I want to go more into it? No, I think let me get into the opponents right here. Opponents of decriminalization say the current law should not be changed because polygamy is inherently dangerous and harmful to women and children, particularly young girls, some of whom have been forced into marriages with older men. Polygamy is a remnant of the early teachings of the Utah-based Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which you might know as Mormons, whose members fled persecution over the practice to settle in Utah territory in 1847. The church disavowed polygamy in 1890 as a condition of Utah statehood, and today members of the faith found to be practicing plural marriage are excommunicated. So, that's really it. That's all I'm gonna say from the article. It's interesting. As I said earlier, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that it took this long to to take place. What I think... Okay, well, let me look this up first. The age of consent in Utah is, I want to say in Utah it's 16, which, there are some states where I think it's like 15, but, it's 18. So 18 is the age of consent in Utah. Thought it was 16. Anyway, I was wrong. Okay, but here's why polygamy is bad. And sometimes there are people who, critics of the Bible, they will say, okay, the Bible promotes polygamy. No, it doesn't. Here's what you have to understand about the Bible. The Bible has passages there that are for first of all, it's just telling a story. The Bible is one big story, and there are lessons to be learned in this story. So, in certain aspects of it, you say, okay, well, that's kind of interesting. There are in Genesis 2:14, which was written by Moses, even though Moses came way after what happened in Adam and Eve. In Genesis 2:24, God established the first marriage. He said, a man shall leave his father and mother. A woman shall, leave her father and mother and cling to the husband. And I don't think I have the words exactly, but that's pretty much the idea. That it's one man and one woman. That's marriage. Marriage was designed by God. It wasn't designed by humans, because God, I think presided would be the word. God presided over that first marriage. He was the one who presided over it. So he's the one who created it, and he created it. Monogamy is the way. Okay, you have other people in the Bible. You have figures who are usually in the upper echelon of things. It's usually royalty, or people that are very wealthy who would have multiple wives. And it would usually lead to disaster. King David, he had, I think he had 8 wives. King Solomon had 700 with 300 concubines, which is just stupid. That I don't know why you'd want that many, that many women. That'll just, you want to kill yourself. Let me think. Ahab did, you had people who had multiple wives. And that's just what it was. Gideon. But the Bible doesn't support polygamy. God never tells man to take up more than one wife. God never tells woman to marry more than one man. That's not the way it is. We have those stories in there. One reason to see what happened and to learn different lessons from them. But one of the lessons concerning polygamy is the fact that it leads to disaster. It doesn't lead to good. Now, I could tell you the details on these stories, but I want you to read these things for yourself. I don't want you to take my word for it. But just read about the story of David, read about the story of King Solomon. You can read about characters who had multiple wives, and you can see how it led to disaster. Now, in terms of King David and King Solomon, a reason that they did have multiple wives is because, especially King Solomon, he married the daughters of the kings in other countries, because that formed political alliances. Because his mind, now he was the wisest man to ever live. So he said, you know what? All I have to do is just marry your daughter. You're not going to come and attack me. Which makes a lot of sense. So he just did that to a bunch of different peoples and, countries. That's what he did. He said, okay, I'll just marry your daughter. I'll marry your daughter. I'll marry your daughter. I'll marry your daughter. And pretty soon, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it's, number 697. It's your turn for me to spend time with you. But it was, political alliances and stuff like that. That's why kings would do that. And also because they had the money to do that, because, you had to pay a lot of money for the weddings and stuff like that. So the common Joe Blow back then couldn't do that. So that's I'll just leave it at that in terms of the polygamy stuff. But I am shocked that it took this long. I don't support it at all. And if you do support it, I would like to know why. I'd like to have that explained to me. So I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm gonna go in and leave that alone, because I could do a whole series on that. But there's other stuff that I want to talk about. Okay, there was sometimes you just wonder if people want to be on the news. Sometimes you think people just want to create a story. Sometimes you think people they just want attention. And sometimes people do things because they know it'll cause a certain reaction. And then there are other times where people do things and it's like, did you even think before you did that? Did you even think before you acted? Did you think before you spoke? A 12-year-old was given a black doll with beads forming a noose around its neck at a Mardi Gras parade. I'm looking at this doll, and this is just something out of nightmares. This is just scary to look at. Forget the noose. Forget that. I'm looking at this doll. This thing is like jet black. It's just creepy, but it's like, let me get into the article. When a person gets called up to a float at a Mardi Gras parade, it's usually a sign they're about to get something special. What seasoned parade goers might call a good throw. But what one young girl I can't pronounce that, at some parade Sunday in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, got instead was something disturbing. This girl and her family gathered in front of their usual spot along the highway Sunday to watch the annual parade. As per family tradition, music was blasting, food was being served, and family members were lined up to catch throws. At one point during the parade, the girl said a white man called her 12-year-old daughter up to a black float decorated with New Orleans Saints jerseys. The man said he had something for the girl and handed her an item. Without looking too closely at what she had been handed, she started to run back across the road when the man called her out again. The girl, supposedly the mom, whose name is Nicole, said that the man told the daughter that that's you. So the white guy said that's you to the daughter. That's the mom's story. The young girl looked down at the item. It was a stuffed doll dressed in red and white gown and apron, also known as a mammy doll, a caricature that perpetrates offensive stereotypes about African Americans. Beads hung around the doll's neck in the shape of a noose. She hung it from her finger and felt degraded. She felt attacked. She didn't even want to stay at the parade. She was ready to go. There's more to the article, but that's really that's all. I think that's all that needs to be mentioned, since I've kind of been through the article. This is, just yesterday I talked about the decrease of hate, and there is. I still hold on to that claim, and I still hold on to that belief. But this is just stupid. This is just stupid. If this story is true. No, let me not go there. In this world, there are people who are racist. There are people who are sexist. There are people, and when I say that they're racist and sexist, I mean they're deliberately doing that. They're not accidentally doing it. Like, they are deliberately and trying to degrade other races. They're trying to degrade men or women. They're trying to degrade those that are different than them. And they do it intentionally. If this story is true, that's what this man would be one of those individuals. This guy had nothing better to do, because you realize, he's on the float, he sees a girl, he sees, a little girl that's black, and he's like, you know what, I have a bright idea. Let me take this mammy doll, and he knew what it was. And let me take these beads. Let me tie it around the doll's neck and call that little girl up and give it to her. It's like, okay. So that's intentional. Like, this is no accident. Like, this isn't, I guess the doll being thrown in the air and then some beads being thrown in there and they somehow just become tangled and it perfectly looks like a noose around a black person's neck. He called up the girl and he says, okay, here you go. She doesn't really see what she's been given. She's excited. I've never been to Mardi Gras. I don't ever want to go. I'm not really big on parades. I'm not really big on them. But anyway, this girl, she's excited. She's like, this is fun. I'm on a float. This is great. I hope, my family's taking pictures of me. Look at all the people that are here. This is great. So she's not really paying attention to what she's been handed. She runs back to her mother, and the guy calls out to the girl and says, "That's you." The girl's like, "Wait, what?" And so she looks down at the doll, and she's 12, so she probably knew what it was and what it meant. I mean, I don't know how you could be 12. I mean, you would know that at that age just based off what you've learned in school by then. Just in school, you would know. Forget what your parents teach you and stuff like that. From school, you would have learned, things concerning that topic. But this is just ridiculous. And I don't know. I find this to be sad. This is, if the story is indeed true, this is unacceptable. If this story is not true, this mother should be ashamed of herself. This is The mom, later down in the article, the mom says that this won't stop them from attending. I don't. Some people's mentality is just sick, and I'm gonna get into that in my next story. I think I'm gonna go in and transition into this because I already talked about hate yesterday. There's not more that you guys need to. We don't need to talk more about that this week. But I'm gonna go in and transition into just this story. Listen. There are sick people in this world. There are some people where you will never understand their mindset. There are some people who are just mentally sick. Mentally, the wiring of their brain makes no sense, and there's something seriously wrong with them. This is from NBC News. A Milwaukee man told 2 kids mom wanted them in heaven before strangling them. Arzell J. Ivory was charged with 3 counts of homicide in the deaths of girlfriend, who family called Jerica, but her name was Amara J. Banks, and her 2 daughters. The boyfriend of a Milwaukee woman found dead in a garage Sunday with her 2 young daughters was charged Tuesday with 3 counts of homicide in connection with their deaths. Arzell J. Ivory, 25, was arrested over the weekend in Tennessee. He told police that he strangled Amara J. Banks, 26, with his hands in the early morning hours of February 8th in her Milwaukee apartment. He says he then kissed the daughter that he had with Banks, 5-year-old Zanaya R. Ivory, and the daughter of Banks from another relationship, 4-year-old Kamaria Banks, and told them that their mother wanted them in heaven and strangled them both, according to a criminal complaint. He faces life in prison if convicted. Ivory said he argued with Banks before he strangled the 2 children and their mother, just hours after they buried their 21-month-old son, Arzell Ivory Jr., who died of bronchitis on January 24th. This family has been through hell. This 2020 has absolutely sucked for this family. I can't even imagine. I can't imagine. 21 months old, dies from sickness. Then, another family, three more people are brutally murdered. What sickens me the most is that he killed two girls, 4 and 5. They're 4 and 5. Forty-eight months of life and 60 months of life. And he says, you know what, that's it for you. After the funeral, Ivory said he went to work as a security guard, the complaint states. When he arrived at Banks' apartment after his shift, he told police she was angry that he had gone to work and yelled at him that he did not care about the death of their son, the complaint states. He said Banks picked up a knife, stated that she did not want to live anymore, and swung at Ivory, cutting his wrist. He said he grabbed her and pushed her head into the wall twice, causing her mouth to bleed. Ivory told police he then strangled Banks. He said that Banks was not fighting him, so he figured that she wanted to die and was helping her. Ivory said he did not want the children to grow up without a mother, so he went into their bedroom and took Zanaya out of the room. He said he kissed her and told her, "Daddy loves you." No, he doesn't. No, he didn't. Life is better than no life. You kill her. Now let me say this. We don't know if the whole fight thing happened. We don't know if that's true. We don't know. He may have a cut on his wrist, but it may not be from this incident as he described. This is just sick. You have sick people in this world. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how you can get into a mental state like this. Actually, I take that. I mean, just this suddenly. Because see, here's the thing. People can be conditioned. There's a story that I've talked about it on this podcast before, but it's called Ordinary Men by Christopher Browning. And it's about these ordinary German men, plumbers, janitors, clerks, just regular guys, just, dads on the block. Dads and husbands on the block. How they are conditioned to go from pretty much normal mindsets to being these stone cold killers. And the story is about the process that they undergo. But this right here, this is different. This wasn't a long drawn out process. No, this guy killed his girlfriend. And then he comes to the conclusion, you know what? It's better that the girls just die because they no longer have a mom. It's just better that they just die. So let me just take care of that. That was his mindset. And it's gross. It's absolutely disgusting. I had an episode on the Jamie Kloss podcast, on the Jamie Kloss thing. The story, Jamie Kloss is just what an emotionally strong girl. Like I can't even imagine. Like that's I don't know. But I was doing some thinking yesterday. I was like, I don't remember why he wanted her. I did some research yesterday, and pretty much he just wanted to kidnap a girl. He just wanted to take a girl. And it just so he said he thought about it for like 2 years, and then one day he saw Jamie, and he said, you know what, that's gonna be her. And he said that he didn't really think about what was gonna happen afterward. He said he didn't really think about what would happen after he got her. But he pretty much got her, he said pretty much in his own words. He said, I just want to see if I can do it. I just want to see if I can kidnap a girl. And what's amazing to me, like when I first heard about the Jamie Kloss thing, I think I heard about it 2 days into when she went missing. I think that's when I first heard about it. So I heard about it and I said, okay, this is interesting. He took her just because he wanted to. And they didn't do, according to him, nothing sexual happened. Because in my mind, when I first heard the story, I said, okay, this guy is a pedophile, and he's going to do sexual things to this girl. He's going to force her against her will. But that wasn't the case. This guy just wanted to see if he could just take a girl. He just wanted to kidnap a girl. He just wanted to see if he could pull it off. According to him, they played board games. They cooked. They made homemade meals. And he said that they just talked about stuff. I can't comprehend this mindset. This is a sick individual. Now let me say this. Firstly, let me say this. I'm praying that he's telling the truth and that nothing happened in terms of anything sexual happening. I'm praying that that's the case, that nothing sexual happened between them. If that's the truth, I'm grateful for that. Like, I thank God for that, because she's already emotionally scarred enough. So I'm going to take his word for it. I'll give him some credit that he didn't do anything sexual to her. But what is wrong with you in the head to where you would do that? You kill 2 people in cold blood just because you want to see if you could pull something off. You want to see if you could just kidnap a girl. Like that's why you did this. There are people who are sick in the head, and let me veer to this. Listen, if you are a guy or a girl, it doesn't matter. You need to be careful of who you date. You need to be careful of who you marry. You need to find out as much as you can about the person. That's what you need to do. Because you don't know these people. You don't know. Here's the thing. People always try to present the best version of themselves. That's what people try to do. We've all heard the term save face, where you want to look your best, you want to be seen in the best light possible. Okay, people usually aren't going to reveal their worst things about themselves. They're not going to do that, especially on a date. You're not going to go on a first date and you're going to be like, oh yeah, I'm a serial killer. You know, I'm a racist, I'm a sexist, I'm homophobic, I'm a pervert. You're not going to hear those things. You're not going to hear those things. You need to find out about these people, whether you're a guy or a girl. It's just, you need to ask questions. You know, and they may sound funny. But these are questions you need to ask and actually be serious about it. Are you crazy? Is your family crazy? You know, what you need to know what you're getting into in a relationship. Now, I'm not married, but I do plan on getting married. There will be questions that I will ask my future wife before we get married. You know, what's your history? Okay. How many have you dated? You know, who have you dated? Have you dated anyone crazy? Have you dated anyone who still wants you and is, you know, willing to do whatever it takes to get you back? Including, you know, violence. Okay. Are you crazy? What do you do when you get angry? You know, how do you react? You know, you need to ask all these questions. You have to. It may seem comical, it may seem offensive. And especially if you're older and you have children. If you are older and you have children and you are dating or thinking about getting married to someone else, you have to think about your kids first. These 2 girls should actually all 3 girls. The daughters and the mother should still be alive. They should still be alive. This dude's reasoning, let me go back. This dude's reasoning, where is it? Here it is. He said Banks picked up a knife. I'm just gonna go around this, okay? Let's say what he's saying is true concerning her having a knife and all of that. Let's say that it's true. He said Banks picked up a knife, stated that she did not want to live anymore, and swung at Ivory, cutting his wrist. Okay. He said he grabbed her and pushed her head into the wall twice, causing her mouth to bleed. Ivory told police he then strangled Banks. He said that Banks was not fighting him, so he figured that she wanted to die and was helping her. What kind of mindset is this? I'm just going with the scenario that I'm going with. I'm just saying, okay, I'm just going to say what he's saying is true. Now, do I believe the story? I don't know. I need to see more of the facts. But you need to be watchful of who you get into a relationship with. You need to know the person's past. You need to know, aside from having similar life goals, those are seriously important. Do you want children? Do you even want to be married? Where do you see yourself living for most of your life? How many children do you want? Just things like that, where you need to have things in common. Okay, what do you look for in a spouse? What's most important to you? Those things are important. But what's even more important is figuring out someone's mental state before you get with them. Now, it may seem offensive to ask someone if they're crazy, and they may think it's a joke, but it's like, no, this is serious. Because here's the thing, you don't know these people. If this woman never got with this guy, she would still be here. Now, I'm going to say this. I don't know if alcohol is involved in this. I'm going to suspect that there was alcohol involved. Because this story just sounds so crazy. I'm going to assume somebody, one of the adults, either Arzel or Amara, one of them was drinking. That's what I'm going to assume. Half of those who kill are intoxicated. Half of those who are murdered are intoxicated. Okay, so I'm going to assume alcohol was involved here. This is sick. This is absolutely sick. But you have to be careful of who you get with. Don't just go for the best looking person. Don't just go for the richest person. Don't just go for the hottest girl. Don't just go for the person with the most resources. No. You need to find out about these people. Are they violent? That's especially for women. You need to know that. You need to ask the person that you are dating, or if you are going on a date, when you are angry, how do you act? What do you do? Are you a drinker? These are questions that specifically women must ask. Women are not as strong as men, so you cannot defend yourself. You can't really defend yourself as well as you would like to be able to against men. The only thing you could really do is either have a weapon when he doesn't have a weapon, or you get him in his sleep, or you poison him. But you don't get many opportunities if you're trying to defend yourself and do stuff. Now, I'm not saying to do any of these things, but what I am saying is you need to ask those questions. How do you react when you're angry? Domestic violence is a serious issue. More so for women than it is for men. Men, we do go through it, but it's not as big a threat to us. So we have to talk about these things. We have to work on these things. You have to know. I hate domestic violence. No one likes it, and I hate this idea. Of, it's kind of like, you know how I talked about how I make fun of the statement, teach men not to rape, which is just a stupid statement. The statement of we need to teach our young men not to hit women. Okay, we already know. If you have to teach your child that there's something wrong with your kid. I'm telling you, there's something wrong with your kid. That's not a normal thing. But ladies, like, this is especially to you. I'm directing this message mostly to you. You need to find out what, if you're dating a guy or you're thinking about marrying this guy, you think he's the man of your dreams. It's like, okay, marriage isn't just, great food and great sex and that's it. That's not what marriage is. There will be ups, there will be downs. There will be days where you can't stand each other. There will be days where you make him angry. He makes you angry. Okay, you need to know what he does when he gets angry. That's extremely important for you and for your potential children. It's crucial. If this woman knew, she never would have been with this guy. Domestic violence it's a cycle. It's a cycle. There's a blow up period, there's a calm period, there's a build up period, and it just repeats. Listen, ladies, let me say this. I understand that mentally, it can be conditioned into you that, you know what, I'll just go back to him because I just love him. Listen to me. If he hits you one time, that's it. That's it. You leave. Don't give him another chance. Why? Because you now are conditioning yourself to accept that. It's not okay to do that. So you have to condition your mind to say, you know what, I'm not going to allow that. I refuse to accept that. So after the first time, you just say, no, I'm done. Even if he begs and says, I'll do anything, oh no, you get out of there. Because let me say this, once you do it, once you accept it once, in his mind, somewhere in his mind, he may be as grateful as all things. But there's a part in his mind where he says, okay, she'll take it. If I do it accidentally, she'll take it. Because she's giving me another shot. That is something that you do not forgive. And when I mean forgive, I'm saying give another chance. You don't give, no, that's an instant deal breaker. Instantly. Do not give it a second thought. That's really all I have to say about this. Be careful when you date. I'm telling you, you don't know these people. You have to figure out these people before you start building your life with them.